Just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if they're sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right, this is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 136. Mike Biseglia, Alex Vanessowitz, who you do see in your YouTube square right now.
Yes.
Alex, how was your trip? How are you doing? You're back from Greece. Welcome back to America.
Thank you. Feels good to be home. I'm a little tanner than I was before. Did get to watch the Jets game on the iPad when I was there. That was fun as we're packing to leave. But I'm home. Good to be home. Great trip. Nice and relaxed. We had a great time and back to reality now today.
Yeah, nothing better than coming back from a vacation and like being thrown right into it. It's always as somebody that's has suffered from anxiety. Well, we don't need to go here. I don't need to make you feel let's just talk sports, okay?
Well, it's a little different. I had the day off yesterday to recharge. I went grocery shopping, went to the gym, get my sleep together.
Get you easing back in there.
Yeah. Now today is when it really gets back into a Wednesday today, the 21st.
And Bad Weather Fans, as everybody knows, we are so proud and excited to be with DraftKings. The NFL action is in full swing here at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. We're talking touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. I know Alex was probably all fired up watching that Jets insane comeback versus the Cleveland Browns in Greece. So your record in Greece is 1-0. You might want to watch all your NFL games there.
Actually, 1-1.
Sorry, still better than your average. If that's not enough, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays right now for every leg Right now, for every leg you add, you can boost your winnings up to 100% with payouts bigger than ever. Why bet on football anywhere else? To make things even sweeter, you can throw down on stepped-up same-game parlays once per game day all season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code BWF to get $200 in free bets if your team wins when you place $5 bet on any football game. That's code BWF, of course, for Bad Weather Fans, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for details. Had Papa Left on last week, which was a lot of fun, Alex, as he was filling in for you. And it was cool to get his perspective and hear what he had to say about the Knicks. But I am excited. I am excited to have you back because the RJ. Well, we'll talk some Nets as well, as the Nets somehow just cannot get out of the news. Specifically, Kyrie Irving.
Put the phone down. Yeah,
as media day begins amazingly next week, which will be fascinating. Which we'll have a lot to react to on that. But the media tour for RJ Barrett continues, Alex.
Yeah, it was in the Puma store yesterday in the city. Knicks Fan TV interviewed him there. I mean, it looked like a fun event. Everybody had a great time, so that's cool. The Knicks have been. He also had his press conference. I put in air quotes.
You were away for that, right?
I was away for that. That's what you and Papa Left discussed last episode. Right. It was great. Yeah,
thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, it's just I wasn't here and I still know what happened. It's all good. But it was weird. I was kind of annoyed that they didn't do a real press conference for him. The Jalen Brunson thing, if you guys listened to this podcast, which most of you do, I hope, to all the episodes. I don't remember the exact episode, but Jalen Brunson, I didn't care about that because he just got here. So he's not responsible for these questions. So if he wants to just be like, hey, here's a couple softball questions from Bill Pito and some fan questions of what's your favorite color and your pet's name, then whatever, let him just have fun and take some pictures. But for RJ Barrett, he's been here. He's been media trained. He knows what he's doing here. He's went to Duke, like Papa laid this out perfectly last episode, and he's right. And I remember texting you from Greece. I'm like, are you kidding? They're not doing a press conference. Why? Do they think that they're going to avoid questions on media day? Do you think they're going to avoid questions after the first preseason game? Like they're not going to be able to hide. They can't just never speak to the media. So it's silly. And they've built up this facade that the media is out to get them. And sometimes they are. And I feel semi-responsible for this with the Knicks for Click stuff that I created. But at the same time, this is not that. The Knicks messed up, or they not even messed up. They had their offseason and they need to answer for it. They need to talk about it. They need to answer some questions. That you can't just sit back and hide in the bushes. You just look like frauds. It makes you look worse and worse. And it's also, I want to see what you think about this, Mike, as an outsider, sort of, even though you're kind of on the inside now doing this, like how I feel with like the Net fans as well. Like I kind of get in your head a little bit with Nets fans, but at the same time, RJ Barrett is getting all this love from the organization, and he got his extension, which was less than what they could have given him, less years. And they just tried to trade him. And now you're going to act like this is our guy. We brought him home. We brought him back. Everybody, it's not fake love from the fans. The fans love RJ Barrett, but from the organization, it feels a little phony. I just was curious what you thought about that.
It's business. I think it's business. They tried to make a trade. They couldn't deal him. I mean, RJ Barrett's taking it in stride, but I think the Knicks have not allowed the media to get their hands near RJ Barrett to ask him tough questions, and they're hiding from it.
Right.
And then in a couple of months, all of it will move over. And that's the part that really just seems to be embarrassing. I really think that's embarrassing. Like if the Nets, for example, had a media day and they hid Kevin Durant, or they didn't let Sean Mark speak, that'd be embarrassing. A lot has happened. A lot has transcribed. A lot has gone on over the last couple of months, and questions need to be answered. And I'm stunned by Knicks fans that are now getting to this point where they're like against wanting answers for how their organization is run. They've taken the stance of the media is out to get us. I don't want to hear anybody pressure RJ Barrett. Maybe it's just interesting to hear what has happened. Don't you want to hold your organization accountable? And right now the Knicks have set the precedent where they don't have to do that. And that's why I felt the Jalen Brunson situation at the time was a bad move, because it wasn't about what was happening then, but now it makes it easier to what happens next. Because they didn't allow media in for Jalen Brunson, they've set the standard for how things can be run in the organization. Now they did it for RJ Barrett, and they will never have to answer questions. They don't have questions at all. And like I said this last week when Papa Left was here, if RJ Barrett was on Bad Weather Fans and I did not ask him that question, people would come to Mike Biseglia and Alex Benesowitz on Bad Weather Fans and say, you had RJ Barrett on? And I'm not saying that would be the only question we ask, but you wouldn't ask him that? They'd be like, what are you doing? So I think there's a double standard there where you would say, hey, Mike, why didn't you ask RJ Barrett about that situation? But then at the same time be like, oh, Mark Berman can't come in, because that's what they would ask. And I'm sorry, Knicks fans. 99% of what RJ Barrett says is interesting to the hardcore Knicks fan, but that's like the 1%, right? The majority of people want to hear the other stuff. That's what they're interested in. Like, I'm sorry. And it's not, oh, here's more views because it's going into after some of the more media cringeworthy stuff. No, that's what people care about. I'm sorry. I'll just keep it straight with you guys. Nobody cares what RJ Barrett thinks about the Knicks coming back. He's going to say a boring answer. Boring. People want to know the interesting parts. You were almost traded. You were almost on Utah. Now you're not. That's what's interesting. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is, and that's what's so weird. It's just because the Knicks didn't want to give more unprotected picks away, so they decided to trade RJ Barrett, and now they're going to re-sign him and act like we're all a big happy family.
Right.
It's a little weird and awkward, but it made me think about when I forgot the exact year in the early 90s, maybe 91, 1990. The Knicks, Patrick Ewing actually demanded a trade from the organization because they were going nowhere. And Dave Checketts took over, and I actually reached out to Paul Nepper. He wrote the book, the Knicks of the 90s. We interviewed him actually on episode 34. So I have a source, Mike. I have a source. I looked it up. He said he went, Paul Nepper said he went directly to Dave Checketts personally, and he told him that he flew to San Antonio and made an offer to the Spurs owner, Red McCombs, at the time. And it offered Patrick Ewing and $10 million for David Robinson. And then they were able to hash it out because the Knicks hired Riley. They gave him an extension. It's a little different than this situation where RJ Barrett could feel a little betrayed right now. He could feel a little like, like, do you really love me? You know what I'm saying? It's one of those kind of things. And yeah, of course, he's going to take the money. He's got to get the extension. He gets the most money from the Knicks. It's still too early for him to join free agency. He'd be a restricted free agent anyway. It's just a different NBA now as well. You can't offer $10 million. Paul's explained to me. You can't offer $10 million plus a player now and plus $10 million to a Spurs. And they'll be like, what? Okay, thanks. No, thanks. Now that the money is just so out of whack, like it's not a big deal anymore. It used to be a way to help out small market teams, that would benefit the big markets, which doesn't matter anymore because everybody has the benefit with the revenue sharing. And I'm going down a road here, but the point is that it's a different situation than that. If anybody brings that up, because, Ewing wanted out because the team was going nowhere and he was just tired of the recycled nonsense. And he just said, you know what, I'm out of here. And then they got the structure, they got Riley. They said, okay, let's go, so it's a little different. But it's just weird, man. It just feels very, very like weird. And it brings me back to the, what I've been saying this whole summer, like maybe this is all facade that they just wanted to make everybody be okay with bringing back Julius Randle. Like Leon Rose the whole time, who knows? Never really was serious about it. And it's just weird, man. It's just a weird situation.
You'll never know. You'll never have answers to that. Nobody knows if Julius Randle, not that they would say he was being dealt, but there's no avenue to find out, access any information about what the Knicks are doing. They're very private. They don't share anything. They don't like being criticized, and now they don't allow media. Could you imagine if they had some sort of like Kevin Durant's media, and it was just fan questions, and like you had Kevin Durant on? So how's your training this offseason going? Like, so it looks like you're in really good shape. What have you
getting
done?
a new sneaker soon? Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Are you really excited about the core that's here? Could you imagine if those were the questions? It'd be such a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Durant's, right now, as they gear up for the week, I'm sure, well, maybe they're not. Who knows how dysfunctional they are.
Are they going to show up? We don't even know. Yeah, exactly.
And if they're not there, that would be an embarrassment. If Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons, who, by the way, is on JJ Redick's podcast, which is going to be fascinating to listen to. I'm dying.
I want to hear that too. Yeah.
He's a lot to say. Could you imagine if they all showed up and they didn't show up? I mean, the Nets would be crucified. But it just boggles my mind to defend not allowing that to happen. And yeah, it's the RJ Barrett love fest, but it's something to rally around, right? Because the Knicks have not had great moments. They've had few and far between. So trying to find their homegrown guy and build the love through it, I totally understand that. I hear that, and I see that perspective. I don't have a problem, to answer your first question, which I probably should have gotten to a little faster originally. I don't have a problem with the love fest that's been created. I have a problem with not allowing the access to get tough questions. I understand there'll be the spin zone from the organization that wants to do things. And if it's at a Puma event, if it's at a one-on-one MSG event, I understand some of that, and you want to show that. Like the Nets are putting out videos on Instagram and Twitter of Kevin Durant's best moments. Yeah, it looks silly, obviously, but that's their job now. Where I have an issue is somebody's got to ask the tough questions. Somebody's got to be answered to. I personally like my organization to be accountable. If Knicks fans feel differently about theirs, that's their prerogative. We see things very differently. And I know it's coming from two different avenues of how our teams have been treated. Nobody's cared about the Nets. Everybody's cared too much about the Knicks. And it should probably be somewhere in the middle.
I agree. And look at Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I don't want to keep beating the dead horse there, but he went on with Woj after the trade. He went on with Windhorst. He went on with Woj. He talked all about it at a press conference. He answered the hard questions.
And he answered them honestly. And Cleveland fans don't give a shit. He's there.
Yeah, and the Woj pod, it was really interesting. Actually, I listened to it. Sitting by the pool in Santorini, it was beautiful. And I'm listening to Donovan Mitchell as a Cleveland Cavalier, getting depressed.
Right,
but like, he said he was actually with the new Jazz head coach Will Hardy. He was actually with him, and they were planning out what they were going to do, because he had told Danny Ainge, like, please don't trade Gobert. Let's run it back. Let's see what we can do. Let's try to figure this out. I like Will, and then they're sitting together at, somewhere at somebody's house. And then all of a sudden, both of their phones just blew up. And like, well, I guess all this was for nothing. And Gobert was traded. They didn't even know. So if there's any bad blood between the Jazz and the organization, the Jazz and Donovan Mitchell, it's because of that. It's not because they tried to trade him. It's because he said, let's just try to do this. They probably said, sure. And then they're like, holy crap, we got this deal for Gobert. Let's blow it all up. And now he's like, yeah.
And Ainge recognized, for his perspective, he doesn't care. He wants to win a championship.
Right.
In his view,
right.
Mitchell and Gobert isn't good enough to win a title. So as much fun as it's been first and second round exits, that's not his goal. And he understands take 2 steps back, 3 steps forward. That's what he's going to do. Do you think, Alex, if Donovan Mitchell was traded to the Knicks, he would be on all of these different shows? You think, because it would have been such a positive love affair, they would have been like, go get him.
Yes, I think Leon Rose talks. I think Tibbs talks. I think everybody talks. I think it's all big happy family.
That I
do too. And that's the biggest frauds ever. If they did do that, or they do make a big trade this year, don't talk. Leon Rose, I never want to hear your voice. Don't go on with Mike Breen. Don't go on with Bill Pito. Don't go on with Wally. Don't go on with anybody. Just sit there and just shut up. Don't ever talk. When Knicks win a championship in the future, don't say anything. I don't want to hear your voice, because you're a fraud if you start talking now. Once the Knicks turn it around, I mean, Donovan Mitchell even said with Woj, something happened that stopped this trade. There was something. He thought he was going there, and he even like backhandedly admitted that he was showing up in New York events because he thought he was going to the Knicks, like we've been saying on this podcast. And there's only 2 ways. I just want to put a bow on this. There's only 2 ways that things that right now as a Knicks fan that you think of. One way, Ainge didn't want to help the Knicks, didn't want to send them there no matter what. And that's why Donovan Mitchell didn't say thank you on his Instagram post or whatever social media post to the Jazz. The other reason is the Knicks didn't want to pony up the picks. Ainge wanted the picks. Mitchell was mad at the Knicks and the Jazz because they couldn't come to an agreement. And Mitchell never wanted to leave Utah. And that's why there was no thank you to the Utah Jazz organization. So that's it. You're either one way or the other, and nobody's going to change your mind either way. And we have to move on. And unfortunately, we didn't move on to trading Julius Randle, which is what everybody wanted. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's getting brainwashed back into we love Julius Randle, but just give it one preseason game and you guys are going to be right back into hating Julius Randle again. Stop getting manipulated by this nonsense, these dribble videos, these practice shots, all this nonsense. You're being brainwashed. Okay. You guys are. And I hope Julius Randle plays well. I hope he turns it around. I hope he becomes all NBA Julius Randle again. I hope he's an all-star again. I hope the Knicks win 50 games and go to the Eastern Conference Finals, even win a championship. God forbid, I should say. It's not going to happen, but like, let's hope, not God forbid. I hope that happens. You know what I'm saying? No. I hope, not God forbid. I really hope that happens, of course. And I don't give a shit about being right. Trust me. I hope that happens, but
I hope you're right.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, but you root for the laundry. It's okay to think that Julius Randle is a problem and needs to go. And he dogged it after he got his money, and he ruined the season last year by his play. And Tibbs didn't hold him accountable. And that's the main reason why the team didn't win last year, while also hoping that he plays well now because we're stuck with him and hoping the Knicks play well, because you root for the laundry, Mike.
You do. And we'll talk a little Nets now. And a boring last couple of weeks turned into not as boring, but still not as exciting as it's been. But before we talk a little Nets, before we talk a little Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and what's been the Twitter drama for the Brooklyn Nets, let's hear more from Alex, and again, with our amazing sponsor in DraftKings.
All right, Mike. The NFL action is in full swing here at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. We're talking about touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. If that's not enough, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped-up same game parlays. Right now, for every leg you add, you can boost your winnings up to 100% with payouts bigger than ever. Why bet on football anywhere else? I mean, why would you? Seriously, that's a great deal. To make things even sweeter, you can throw down on stepped-up same-game single parlays once per game all season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code BWF to get $200 in free bets if your team wins when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's promo code BWF for bad weather fans, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. So Kyrie Irving tweets again.
Yeah, and
as I clear my throat on mute.
Let me clear my throat. Yeah, he's been in the news a lot. And it goes back to a bigger picture for Brooklyn Net fans. Then we'll micro into what he said in a second, a little bit. Right. But it just goes back into this whole vibe of it just seems like every time things have turned a corner, you feel good. Things are going in a progressive way. There's no drama. There's nothing to talk about. Kyrie Irving goes ahead and tweets. And I think as Net fans, you just have to assume that at this point that there'll be some sort of something at all times. It's just the deal with the devil, right? We talked about this a million times, and I take this deal over and over again. I'm glad they're running it back because there is a possibility if things break right, they're so talented that they could do some serious damage in the playoffs, that hopefully for Net fans win an NBA championship. But this idea that there will never be anything and it'll be a harmonious season, I am not in that belief anymore. That is not a chance. Celtic fans were right. There is always something that will happen on the court, off the court. You know it will be true. This all started with, from a Nets perspective, Kyrie Irving, one of his first couple days on the team, and he started ripping teammates and depth, and there's just always something. Now, can they win? Yeah, but for this idea that this will be a drama free filled next couple of months, impossible. There will be something. Now, to what extent can they overcome it? I think those are more of the questions to be asked, not will it happen? Because yes, it will happen. And Kyrie Irving, last couple of weeks, first one going on, with his Alex Jones, showing his video of Alex Jones, regardless of what the video has. Alex Jones is one of the biggest scumbags on the face of the earth. He's a terrible human being. There's nothing. I mean, you can't defend Alex Jones. If you defend Alex Jones, you are then in the Alex Jones camp, and I can't respect or have anything of just disrespect and want nothing to do with you personally. I mean, it's just despicable. I mean, it's just one of the most horrific human beings out there.
And that's not a political opinion thing. That's just like you're just
no.
It's not like you're a Republican or a Democrat. Yeah, it's not.
I think
like
Republicans. I think any reasonable human being, Republican or Democrat, would not be a fan of Alex Jones. He spews hate. I mean, he is a terrible human being. So when Kyrie is going out there and showing his videos, it's disappointing. And part of me at first was like, does Kyrie Irving know who he is, and is he like just not informed on who Alex Jones is? And I said to myself, of course he knows who he is. Kyrie Irving knows who everybody is. And that saddened me. I mean, it really does. So that was despicable. And then going on Twitter yesterday and having his Twitter comments, and then reigniting that conversation. And then the second half of the tweet was mind blowing. And it's disappointing and it's sad. And it's, it sucks because I love the Nets. I love Kyrie Irving in a lot of ways, because I do think he does a lot of good. But he also is, spreading misinformation in ways, and that to me is scary. Outside, and tying it all back together. Yeah, there's going to be something with the Nets. Now, is this, be all end all? Is like, people will forget about this in a day or two because that's just the way the news cycle is. But, it'll be reignited when he says something else. And everybody has a right to free speech, and everybody has the right to think of his free speech as bullshit. So, and then in a lot of ways, that's good. That's a good thing. And I'm getting in free speech. But hey, ultimately though, yeah, there's always going to be something with the Nets.
But you root for the laundry, and we tie it to Julius Randle. You root for the laundry, and this is a different level, different kinds of situation. Julius Randle's not doing what Kyrie's doing, but at the same time, if you dislike him for whatever reason, you still root for the laundry. I bring up Tim Tebow. I never liked him. I couldn't stand him. I thought he was a fraud. And then when the Jets traded for him, I was like so disappointed because I had to root for this guy. But whenever he had the ball, I was cheering for him to go, like to run, go. But at the same time, I didn't really like him, so, and that's not because of his political opinion, his religious beliefs or whatever. I just thought he was a fraud. I thought he just he thought he was overrated and kind of like, down, like one of those things, not for any particular reason. It just overall, so it's just, but the Nets, like, they look like geniuses with this Kyrie Irving stuff and playing hardball. I know, like, it all worked out, but, and I don't want to give the Nets credit, but, not paying Kyrie and playing this game, and they know what type of person he really is. They know what kind of crazy he really is that the world doesn't see. And we just get a glimpse of it from these little tweets and stuff like that. But he might be like literally out there. And, he might need some serious help. And I hope that it's not at that level. And if he does, then I really hope he gets the help he needs. But you can't be this kind of out of touch with reality at this level of your career, at this age. You're not. You're just one of those guys that's always been surrounded by people that have told you yes, that have said you're right. Nobody checks him. And that's the problem. When they do check him, he wants to get traded. So it's just, it's scary. And it's a good thing that as a Nets fan, it's a good thing that the Nets have Durant locked up because he's stuck there, even against his will. But Kyrie, after this year, you might never have to see him again. And, even if you don't win a championship and you're like, oh, I wish we could run it back again, you might just be like, you know what? Addition by subtraction. Goodbye. And then Ben Simmons is okay. And you got Durant. Maybe you get some more cap space and get somebody else,
Well, the part for me, and I think this is where, if you look back on Kyrie Irving and when he won his title, because I hate when people diminish, oh, Kyrie Irving hasn't done much. He hasn't been that much of a star. He hasn't been that much of a player.
BS.
And I hate, this
BS.
really bothers me when you just minimize what he did. Like, to go into Cleveland and win a championship and put on the performance that he did was remarkable. I'm telling you now, Knicks fans, like, if you got a big time performance from, whoever the player is, and then to minimize everything else, you would never do it, right? Like, Kyrie Irving has been remarkable, but I look back at the Cleveland years, and something that I think stands out is the accountability from LeBron James. I mean, say what everybody wants about LeBron James, he got the best out of Kyrie Irving, and people always say, oh, LeBron couldn't. If it was, then you could have this other angle. LeBron would not have won a title if Kyrie wasn't there. Yeah, true. Michael wouldn't have won a title if Scottie wasn't there.
Sure.
Okay. Like, if Scottie Pippen wasn't on those teams, they're not beating the Utah Jazz. I'm sorry.
Nope.
It's a team effort. You have the best players, but you need stars to do it. You need high level guys. But LeBron got the best out of Kyrie, and he held him accountable at times. And what worries me is because Durant and Kyrie are buddy so much and so tight, you'll never hear somebody check Kyrie. And he didn't do it because but a guy that like wanted to check him but didn't have the stones to do it because of all the other forces was James Harden. He was the one that was like, look at this, what has happened here, and he bolted.
Yeah,
he was like, this
get
guy
me out of here.
Check. this needs to be in check.
And James Harden, the voice of reason, is funny to me.
but I mean, he saw it. He's like, I didn't want to get vaccinated, but I got vaxxed, if those reports are true. And then the frustration of seeing Kyrie Irving not do it probably got him irritated. Durant's hurt. I'm alone. Holy shit. This sucks. But I get back to the point of, there needs to be an internal accountability together to make sure things go right. And that's the scary part when you say, who is your head coach? It's Steve Nash. There is no accountability for anybody at any times. And that, to me, is, besides all the other noise, it's the accountability on each other for when things get tough and rough. Who's going to be the leader? You need leaders for this team. And I worry, does this Nets team not have leaders? That's why, as crazy as it sounds, losing a Jeff Green, losing those like, the Nets need Durant to step up as a leader. And this is more than just putting on 30 and 10 performances, which is remarkable. And it's why they'll win games. But if they're going to get through the shit, they need guys to step up, be leaders, hold each other accountable. Say, hey, man, you're not doing your shit right now. Like, we need you. We need you. Ben Simmons, like, we need you. Because, Ben Simmons isn't going to be the leader. We haven't heard him talk, which we will.
He plays.
I mean, Kyrie and Durant can put on the facade and say things, but we have to show with the actions. And not having the respect there with the coach terrifies me. Like, that's what makes Steve Kerr so good there. They respect him, and he holds players accountable.
Stands up for them too. Yeah.
Does it all, right? Mm-hmm. Good and bad. Bad times, good times. There. Leadership. I don't know if the Nets have leadership to win a championship.
They don't. And that's why I've been saying that they're not going to win a title. They wanted Steve Nash to be fired, and now they're going to look to him to hold them accountable, to be like, get the hell out of here, dude. Forget this play. We're going to run this play. Can you imagine? This isn't like Any Given Sunday, the movie, like, forget this play. Jamie Foxx is changing the play in the huddle. Like, this is not a movie. This is real life. And the Nets players tried to get Steve Nash fired and Sean Marks fired, and they said no. And now they're there against their will, playing for a coach they don't love. That's not a championship formula. It's just not. You know what I mean? They can win 50 games in their sleep, but they're not going to win a title once it comes to the playoffs. And you need everybody to be together, not to sound cheesy, but all for one and one for all. It's not going to happen.
And that's why the Nets in their regular season is so important.
Right.
And if I minimized it in the past, that was 100% incorrect. They need to build in the regular season to get to that point, and they need to use that as their building block. And you would hope after all the bullshit that has happened over the past 3 or 4 months with everybody doubting them, they can use that as fuel to garner some of that, to build on some of that, to get that going. Will it happen? I don't know. But that's why that regular season to me is more important than it has ever been, because that has to be built. That culture has to be reestablished, even if it's bullshit at times. They have to go back to caring and holding each other accountable. And the first place to do it is the regular season.
Right. Agreed.
Now, will it happen or not? I have no idea.
Back after this. Yeah. No.
877-337-6. Okay. So, Aaron Judge, 60 home runs. Mets still up a game on the Braves, although
playoff spot though, clinch the playoff spot.
Clinch the playoff spot.
Win the division, then I'll be happy. But
the Giants are 2-0. The Jets are 1-1 with an insane win.
Insane game. That doesn't make Salah a great coach. He can't cash in his receipts. Give it a rest. He punted the ball 4th and 8 with 3 timeouts on his own 10-yard line, whatever. He
won.
And yeah, he won. But it's funny that I was so happy Chubb scored that touchdown. I was like, well, why'd you punt the ball back to him to put that in? Give that a chance.
I know.
Just go for it on 4th down. You have 3 timeouts. Yeah, you won. So you look like a genius. No, you don't. Give me a break. But anyway, they won. So let's go. Okay. So anyway, Aaron Judge, 60 home runs. I don't care. I don't think anybody cares. I think it's a Yankee BS excitement. I think it's like the Steph Curry 3-point shootout, 3-point record that everybody all of a sudden cared about. And in 10 years will be broken by somebody else. So I don't think this will be broken in 10 years, but this isn't a record. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody cares about this. This isn't the steroid era where Sosa and Maguire are breaking into games for the thing, but whatever.
No,
Mike,
it's not. It's not at the same level. I mean, and that was an historic moment of people's interest level. Baseball was coming off such a terrible time as well, and needed that home run chase to get them going. I do think it's it's interesting, and it's a big deal that he's hit 60 home runs. I think it's kind of more crazy to just to ask your questions of why it's not at the same historic level of interest. Is it because the steroid level has just jaded people? Is it because the Bonds record is there? What is the reason for that? I don't think it's as doom and gloom as like nobody cares. I think what'll happen is I think the conversation here is, why is it not as big of a deal? Like, something has happened that has made it not that interesting, because it is an amazing effort. Think about too, as home runs are down and players aren't having those kind of stats that we saw 15, 20 years ago, as things have changed a little bit, that he's still overcoming that in a lot of ways. And this will never be discussed. This might be the most significant mark to have 60 home runs and do it now is clearly, like, in terms of compare and contrast, way bigger deal in terms of like accomplishment than 73 from Bonds when everything was juiced.
Right. But I don't think anybody really cares. I think this is just the Yankees fans are bored. They've clinched that. They didn't clinch that, but they're running away with the division. People have nothing to care about. If they really cared about this record, Mike, in 2017, when Giancarlo Stanton hit 59 home runs, all Marlins Stadium, whatever the stadium is called now, will be sold out, but nobody gave a shit. Okay. Giancarlo Stanton, I looked it up on September 28th in 2017, he had 2 home runs to get to 59 home runs. And he still had about 3 or 4 or 5 games left in that season. Nobody gave a shit. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. Nobody cares about this record. This is just a Yankee thing that's been overblown. Nobody cares. The steroid era ruined the record chases. We used to care about records so much. Analytics ruined the records of people diminishing the records that we cared about, like hit streaks and things like that. Nobody cares about this stuff anymore, and steroids ruined it. So to me, this is just a total Yankee concocted event. And that stupid fan that gave the ball to Aaron Judge, a 20-year-old, you could have made like hundreds of thousands of dollars, man. Like, what are you doing? But that's another conversation. We can't get into that. I think this is a Yankee concocted moment. I don't think anybody really cares.
Well, I think people care. I don't think people care at the level it was. I don't think it's even close to where it was, but there is a care level. But I wouldn't put it on the Yankees as some moment that's created. He's still going for the Yankee home run record. It's still 60 home runs. And if this was the Mets organization and Pete Alonso was approaching 60 home runs, the Mets would be doing something similar to pump him up. Right. So I don't want to minimize, it's just as a Yankee concocted thing. Like, this is a big deal for Yankee fans. And as one that's not, I could understand why a Yankee fan would be excited. So I think, yes, it's not at the same level it was with Bonds, Maguire, and of course, Sosa, whatnot. But at the same time, it's not like yeah, Judge hit 60 home runs, back to the traffic. Like, I don't think it's that.
What are they going to do? A documentary on Aaron Judge's 60 home runs in 15 years?
See how the season ends, I guess, for the Yankees.
Okay, so it'll be a season documentary. It won't be about his home run chase because they've done
so now you're
documentaries.
quantifying as people cares as if a documentary is done.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
and because my point about Giancarlo Stanton in 2017, he hit 59 home runs. Nobody cared. Nobody knows. Nobody even knows. If you polled 1,000 Yankees fans right now or Mets fans that don't follow the Yankees as closely, nobody knew that Giancarlo Stanton hit 59 home runs for the Marlins in 2017, and nobody cared. Now all of a sudden, Aaron Judge hit 60 home runs, and everybody cares. It's such a big deal. Oh, tickets, give me a break. You'll forget about it next year when he's playing for the Mets or the Giants.
He's playing for the Nets. The Nets. This is all right.
Be a good power forward, right, man? He's pretty big. Yeah.
When Durant's gone, this has been Bad Weather Fans, episode 136. Glad to have you back, Alex. It'll be really interesting the next couple of weeks as training camps begin, as media days begin. What will we hear from Nets camp? What will we hear from Knicks camp? And of course, MLB playoffs. NFL football teams in New York seem to be solid so far, I guess. So
that's come on. They got lucky. They got a fun, not lucky. They had a fun win. It was exciting, but let's not say they've arrived yet. And Joe Flacco still sucks. They had a good game. Garrett Wilson looks like the real deal. Breece Hall looks like the real deal. Michael Carter looks like the real deal, and Elijah Moore. But other than that, didn't really prove much. It was fun though. I was excited. But anyway,
this has been Bad Weather Fans, episode 136. Thank you to our sponsor, of course, in DraftKings. Next week we'll be doing training camp talk, episode 137. Alex, fun as usual, man. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.